Alrighty then. We find ourselves here on I believe it would be a Thursday morning. I think it's around the 18th of December. Is that right? I think we're drawing within a week of Christmas time. Not that I give a rat's ass. Don't care much for Christmas anymore. If I had to say that I cared about it, even just a little bit, I guess I'd have to try to look within myself and see if I can ascertain what it is about Christmas that I find to have meaning for me personally. Now, of course, I was married twice, raised a couple of daughters over a couple of decades time, and did all the Christmas shit, putting up the tree, the lights, the tinsel, presents under the tree, Christmas dinners with friends and relatives, drinking lots of wine and beer, and carrying on with friends and certain groups of relatives here and there within my family or our family, and I did it all. I did all that stuff, and now that I find myself sitting here at the age of 72, living by myself for the last 10 years since I moved out here to Tucson, Arizona. I spend a lot of time by myself doing my work, which is mostly pertains to running my violin shop, and that keeps me pretty busy. But I spend a lot of time alone. I just feel quite disconnected from a lot of the, shall we say, mainstream culture, holidays and observances that, of course, I was raised on for so many years myself, back when I used to live deep within the culture, the cultural matrix. And there was a time when I subscribed to all that bullshit. But there was a break. I had a clean break somewhere along the way. Not sure exactly how or when it happened. It wasn't terribly long ago. But we're not going to go into that now. That has nothing whatsoever to do with the real reason that I have sat down this morning and turned on the video a player in my phone. I just thought, my YouTube channel is mostly me sitting around doing show and tell with a lot of different violins that I happen to own or have owned in the past, which is, of course, one heck of a lot of fun. But I've started adding videos about other topics just because some of the shit that has happened to me, just little stories here and there, little anecdotes, and but also not to mention other strange stories from my past. I have thought that perhaps I would tell these stories to the camera and get them out there. Someone might find them quite entertaining, actually. In some cases, probably more entertaining than all the bullshit that I talk about with my fiddles, on the desk. Having said all of that, boy howdy, I'm going to close this door back here and shut out some of the shut out some of the atmospheric noise. It's much quieter. So, I don't know. Let's see. All right, here's a funny little story. Won't take long to tell. But I've been playing the fiddle since I was 18 years old. I was a late bloomer. I wasn't one of these kids that whose parents put a fiddle in my hand. Back when I was like 8 years old or something like that. I found my way to the fiddle entirely on my own. But had it not been for the influence of a friend of mine by the name of Robert Freeman, who is still with us. He lives in Lafayette, Indiana. He's a fantastic banjo player, fantastic fiddle player, great historian of old-time music, knows bunches and bunches of really cool old-time American songs, and is a deep well of tunes, American fiddle tunes, dance tunes in most cases. He knows a bunch of Irish stuff as well. He has studied the Irish fiddling tradition quite deeply, and is one of the most, I must say, he is one of the most captivating clawhammer banjo players I have ever heard. And he's a national treasure, and he doesn't realize it. He's so humble and sort of like off in his own world. It would scarcely occur to him to even think of like making a record of himself playing, banjo pieces and or fiddle tunes. It doesn't even occur to him. He just doesn't. One might argue that he's the real deal, because he doesn't seem to have much desire at all to exploit his own talents to the extent that he might book some time in a recording studio. He just doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff, which is amazing, because he's really a great player. Why was it that I thought of him in relation to this story? I got a little bit sidetracked there. I'm trying to think. Okay, yeah. This would have been about 1978. Robert and I were camping in Colorado on a summer camping trip. I think it was like about July of 1978. The good old days, This was after college. For me, it was after college. Robert was still academically involved somewhere or another. I don't remember where. He was a serial academician, and it seemed like he was perpetually moving from town and city to another town and city to study, to pursue various programs at various universities and so forth, which included in Germany, where he studied German language and German literary studies for a year or two, way back then, somewhere in and around that time. But Robert and I had been cruising around Colorado, camping mostly, smoking weed and drinking beer and cheap wine, around the campfire up in the mountains, up in the Rocky Mountains there. and we actually started working our way over toward Breckenridge, Colorado. Now, if any of y'all have ever been to Colorado much, Breckenridge is, I want to say it's roughly central in the state, approximately central, but the town itself is at a very high elevation because it is a ski resort to this day. I'm going to guess that Breckenridge is probably somewhere around eight to 9,000 feet in elevation, because the ski resort is just outside the city limits, if my memory serves me well. And but back in the 70s, there was a cool little old town part of Breckenridge that was pretty neat. Kind of designed on an old style Western town, with storefronts and old plank walkways in front of the stores, and little cafes, and little parlors of one kind or another. But there were also, of course, ski resorts, modern ski resorts, like small hotels that catered to the skiers in a huge way. So you had that all mixed together up in there. And then, of course, you had rich folks who had their very expensive properties, little homes built up onto the sides of the surrounding mountains, overlooking the town. And I had occasion to visit some wealthy folks up in one of those homes during one of my stays in Breckenridge. But they're having a fiddle contest there in Breckenridge. I believe it was July of 1978, and of course it was well attended. I don't remember much about the setting. I believe it was adjacent to a modern building of some sort somewhere, and I just don't. I'm fuzzy on much that I could relate about the setting. However, there were quite a fair number of fiddlers that turned out. And one of which was this, if my memory serves me right, let me see if I can resurrect her name. I had seen her before up at the Weiser, Idaho fiddle contest earlier in the 70s. And I'll think of her name in a minute. But she was approximately the same age as Robert and I. Of course, we were, in 78, we would have been in our early 20s. Mid 20s. We would have been around 25, 26 years old. I believe that this gal, who was a contest fiddler, played Texas-style fiddle tunes. Now, any of you that know anything about the Western contests, fiddle contests in America, will know that there is a predominance of Texas-style fiddling at a lot of the Western contests in the United States. Texas fiddling is a distinct style of fiddle playing that is quite fancy, quite demanding as far as one's as far as the requirements pertaining to execution of the tunes. They're very difficult to play well. Lot of notes. When it comes to the waltzes, you ain't nobody if you don't have some serious double stops. Playing two notes at a time as part of the melody of the waltz, and being able to play double stop type tunes in tune, with good intonation, good timing, good bowing, good sounding fiddle, good tone. In other words, the Texas style, of course, is generally considered to have originated in the state of Texas. There were back in the say 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. There was a handful of chief proponents of the Texas style. What was starting to be, generally recognized as the Texas style of fiddling. Guys like Dick Barrett, Benny Thomason. There's There were a bunch of them back through that period. Um, um, so this girl, I believe her name was Brenda Wallace, if I'm not mistaken. This woman fiddle player, who I'm referring to, who I had seen at the Weiser, Idaho contest, probably in 1973 or 1975. She was a top flight fiddler, very strong Texas style fiddle player, very, very strong, very intense player. She obviously entered lots of contests. She was really cranked up, man, cranked up for it. Played her tunes pretty fast, with great confidence and verve and panache. Along comes Mark and Robert, and we're just a couple of pansy-assed hippies from St. Louis, Missouri, who probably back in those days smoked way too much weed and drank too much cheap beer. But we loved our old-time music, man. We loved to play old-time music, not Texas style. We weren't into that Texas style crap. We played Missouri style fiddle tunes, or Eastern Seaboard type tunes, from the Appalachian region, or Midwestern style tunes from either Missouri or some surrounding state. Stylistically, that's where we were at, and we enjoyed the hell out of it. I personally, back in those days, had picked up a tune from an old timer in Columbia, Missouri, where I had just finished up going to college for a few years, exactly in the mid '70s. I had hung out for just a little bit, not a whole lot, but hung out a little bit with this guy named Taylor McBain, who was one of the more famous Central Missouri fiddle players, old time fiddle players. And I picked up his version of Fiddler's Dream, kind of an old chestnut that a lot of fiddlers know. Even the Texas style players will play a version of Fiddler's Dream. So I had my own version, and I think I probably played, back in those days, one of my best contest waltzes was called Silver Wedding Waltz, which I got from the great Northwest, Western Canadian or Northwestern U.S. Fiddle player from around the general Seattle area, by the name of Joe Panzerowski. Although he grew up and cut his teeth on fiddling in Canada, Western Canada. But he moved into the United States at some point. If I remember right, I think he was around Tacoma. But don't hold me to that. But I got a pretty good grip on on Joe Panzerowski's version of Silver Wedding Waltz, and I was able to play it pretty strongly in a contest setting. So I played that. I played Fiddler's Dream and some other tune I don't remember. But Brenda Wallace, her number had been called before me, so she got up and played her tunes. They had a good PA system. The fiddle really was rocking out the whole scene, man, because it was good and loud. They had a good guitar mic for a guitar backup. We had our own guitars with us, and Robert backed me up on my tunes on guitar. But when Brenda came out, she ripped it hard, man. She just ripped her tunes a new butt crack, if you'll pardon my expression. And as soon as I heard her playing, I remember thinking to myself, forget it, man. Just forget it. It's game over. Complete, stone cold game over. not a chance in the world I'm going to place in this contest with the likes of her. And there were some other Texas-style fiddle players there as well. Because like I said before, back in those days, and even all the way down to the present day, Texas style rules, man. Texas style is king in all the modern Western contests, no matter whether they be in Colorado or Texas or Montana or even California. Hell, even the Grand Masters contest in Nashville, Tennessee, a big, huge national contest. Even it is pretty much is predominated, or shall I just say dominated by players who play Texas style. Now, of course, there are going to be some exceptions to what I'm saying here and there. There will be those fiddle players that are more than happy to disappoint a lot of people in the audience and just snub their noses at the whole Texas style thing and just play their own tunes. They could be Irish. Their tunes might be, Arkansas tunes, or some kind of fiddle tune from Wisconsin, or downstate Illinois. But here again, the real macho players, the ones that are looking for the contest money, will be playing Texas style stuff. So Brenda Wallace came out, played her shit, and I just knew that was it. They're game over. And then we were called, and we went up, and I played my tunes, and I was feeling good. I was playing well back in those days, and I punched out Fiddler's Dream, and I mean to tell you, I had a really good sounding fiddle, and it had lots of power. And I had been playing that fiddle for years and was quite locked into it. That fiddle and I were one thing, and I knew what it had. I knew what it could do. I knew how to make it do what it could do best, and I punched out that Fiddler's Dream, and it just rocked the whole fucking place. The PA system was tremendously great, and then I played my Silver Wedding Waltz, and it came out just fabulously well. Robert did a fine job of backing me up, and it just was really beautiful. If I may say so, I was proud of myself that particular day because I did play well. And but not Texas style. So we finished up our little set and went off somewhere, and then there was a bunch more fiddlers that were still left to perform, and so then some time went by, and it was time to announce the winners of the contest, and so they called up like the 5 finalists. And I was among them, and so was Brenda Wallace. And I thought, wow, And so we're all standing on stage, and they call fiddler number 5, and it's some other doofus. Fiddler number 4, some other doofus. Fiddler number 3, some other doofus. And that left only me and Brenda Wallace on stage. And then the final announcement, of course, for second place will obviously indicate who won the contest. And in second place, we give the second place award to, long pause, Brenda Wallace. Let's have a big round of applause for Brenda Wallace. And I just about fucking lost it, man. I could not. I said, no fucking way. No way. No way did my fiddling, even though I played well, no way my fiddling beat that girl. No way. She ripped it, man. She ripped it hard on that Texas stuff. And as soon as her name was called for second place, I looked at her, and I was watching her go pick up her trophy, and she was, she was livid. I think her face was actually flushed red from with anger. And she couldn't crack a smile. She just went, grabbed her trophy, and stormed off stage. She was really visibly pissed off. Is that the textbook definition of a sore loser? I don't know, but she and I was, I didn't feel one bit of shame for having won the contest over her. I was ecstatic, and then I went up and first place goes to Mark Renard from St. Louis, Missouri, and so they asked me if have you got anything to say for us here today, Mark? And of course I went up to the. I remember going up to the microphone, and the only thing I could think to say was, and they by the way, you get a trophy and $100 in cash. And so they handed me an envelope with $100 in cash in it. Back in 1978, folks, that was a nice chunk of money, man. That was a nice chunk of money. And I said, well, you know what? Instead of beans for dinner, I think I'm going to go out and get a big old steak. True story. And by the way, the trophy was not like some big overblown fancy, gold colored thing that's sitting on a wooden stand. It was this nice tiny little, it was a silver musical note, like a quarter note, about this tall, on a little wooden base, with a plaque on the front of the base that said Breckenridge Fiddle Contest 1978. Just a musical note. And I still have that somewhere in my possession. I can't find it anymore, but somewhere in my possession I have that little trophy. And of all the contests that I have entered, I'm probably more proud of that little trophy than any other, just because of the circumstances, that that I actually whooped the ass of a really top flight Texas fiddler with my with whatever it was that I was able to do on the fiddle. I whooped their ass, and so that was a lot of fun. Pretty much end of story. Let's pause the tape for a moment.